So let's talk about Azure. Let's talk a little bit about serverless in Azure. What does that mean? Serverless means a lot of things. People like to use it. It's like DevOps. It's like, oh my God, you said the word, and now magic's going to happen. But serverless can mean a lot of different things. Specifically in Azure, it's really isolated, separated code. That could be Azure Functions. Show of hands, who's using Azure Functions? All snap. Are they amazing? I've used Azure for over 9 years before it was released. I was an Azure MVP for a year and a half. I've used almost every part of developing in Azure. By far, functions are my favorite thing. They're the most badass things you could do. Or you could refer them as logic apps, not functions logic apps. Serverless could mean logic apps. That's kind of the ability to create workflows and automation in a portal UI environment by stringing together functionality from various systems, including functions. You have what are called connectors. That allows you to, inside of your logic apps, reach out and access other systems. Shockingly enough, there's a lot of connections into other Microsoft systems like Outlook and Dynamics and SharePoint and everything else. But then also getting into it, because you can't say serverless without talking about Docker and Kubernetes and containers. I'm not talking about any of that today. I just wanted you to kind of get an idea of what I was going to be referring to when I say serverless. It's really going to be logic apps and functions. So we talk about the automation itself. Let's see. Do I want to do that? I'm going to say that one for this one. Before I get into there, if you can win the amazing sunglasses if you can tell me what episode that one's from. You have to describe.
When Homer got stuck in a nuclear plant and it almost blew up.
He is correct.
He was waiting. He was gambling.
That's right. You are correct, so you do win the sunglasses. But I'm going to have to give him a little bit bigger description because it's an hilarious episode. So I'm sorry. So Homer decides he wants to get on disability. So he tries to figure out, how can I get on disability? And he determines if he weighs over 300 pounds, then he can be legally disabled to work from home. It's called King Size Homer's named episode. So he weighs over 300 pounds. Bart's helped him gain weight. And he finally works from home. He wears a muumuu all day. And so they put a terminal in his house. And the only thing he has to do on this terminal is type yes. It's like, do you want to vent the gas? He's like, yes. And he figures out he only has to type Y, not yes. So he types Y. And then he figures out one of these little bird things can sit there and just go over and over typing yes. And of course it gets knocked over. It almost explodes. Homer tries to go shut it down. He falls into the vent, and that's what stops it from blowing up because he's so fat, he blocks the vent. So it's extremely relevant to Azure Logic Apps, I can tell you. All right, so automation. It's about simplifying the implementation of what you have. It's integrating systems. It's based off of triggers, things that cause this automation to kick off, things that allow it to move from step to step, and things that basically automate manual processes that someone else is probably having to do. That could also be on demand, or it could be on a schedule. And you, of course, have parameters that you can pass in between each step. But if you think about the automation, just think about what you can start piecing together. Well, what's really cool, because it's all in Azure, we have the AI cognitive services aspect of it. So as part of your automation, you can start blending in Microsoft Azure cognitive services. Things like translating text, looking at analyzing the text to try to determine, is it something happy, is it something sad? Looking at images with the Vision API, trying to figure out who did the how old are you? You ever did that on Microsoft? Like, upload your picture and it figures out how old you are. And apparently I'm like, I've been 24 and I've been 64 all in the same time. I don't know how. But it also allows you can upload text. It can analyze that to determine what language it's in. It can analyze speech. There's a lot of different stuff you can use AI cognitive services with. So when we blend this into our automation, we can really get some cool things that you can do very quickly. And so really what I'm showing you today is I want to introduce you to Logic Apps, get you kind of understanding what they are and how you might use them. And then I'm going to show you a process of what you can do. So this is the process of what we're going to do today. I should have enough time to do all the steps and maybe even a few more. But we're going to start with a tweet. And I'm going to add a specific hashtag in that tweet. And my Logic app is going to watch for that hashtag. And when someone tweets this hashtag, it's going to kick off my Logic app. When that Logic app goes, I'm going to pass whatever was tweeted over to Azure Cognitive Services, and it's going to examine the text of what was tweeted to determine if it was nice or not. Was it something happy or not really happy? It's more like, is it a negative tone or is it a positive tone? If it was a positive tone, I'm going to send it over to Microsoft Translator, and we're going to translate it into a language. In other times I've done that, we've done Klingon. There's a lot of different languages. I think there's 50, 51, 52 languages I think you can translate into. But we're going to pick one of those. And then after we translate it, I'm going to send myself an email. And it'll be, hey, was this a good translation? Did you like it in the language translated? And if so, I'm going to post a tweet. I'm going to post a tweet again of what the new translated text is. But if it's not nice, we might post it into a Slack channel. Now, this process, I'm going to spend about, let's say, 20 to 25 minutes, maybe, going through and showing you each step, depending on enough time. If I wasn't telling you how to do it, I could do all of that maybe a minute and 15 seconds, maybe. That's how, because it's already built into the system. I'm going to take longer because I'm going to walk you through each step so you understand it. But that's what you get with the automation and all these different systems working together. So here we go. So now we're going to jump right into it. All right, so I have a few different things. One, this is my Azure Portal. And, oh, that was foolish of me. I did not hide my toolbar. Not that it's probably that big of a deal. All right, I don't see it. You're going to look, oh, no, you're just going to see it. Anyway, this is my Azure Portal. I already have my Logic app created. I already have a translation server, translate text service, cognitive services created, as do I have a text analyzer. So it's not that exciting. It's a screen where you'll see the quick start for my text analyzer. And I know it's a text analyzer because it has those like little lines on it. That just means the text analyzer. The other one is my translate text, which is that cool little logo. So you set these up ahead of time. They'll give you some API keys. I'm going to end up using them as part of my process. So now I'm going to go into my Logic app itself. So when you create a Logic app, it kind of guides you into this is the first screen you see. And Logic apps can do a lot of different things. Has anyone used Microsoft Flow? No? Okay. Okay, 1 or 2 hands. I actually, for years, I said it wrong. I said, Microsoft Flow, that's what Logic apps were built on. And I said that to a guy in the Logic apps team. And he went, no, no, no. Flow runs Logic apps. Maybe that's like a arm wrestling contest that's going on inside the product group of Microsoft. I don't know. But if you're familiar with Flow, it's basically a graphical workflow engine where you can drag things into there, decide the path you want things to take, and kind of add steps along the way. This is very similar, but everything runs in Azure. So you can totally make one from scratch, and you can choose, but first thing you have to do is you have to choose what's going to cause your Logic app, what's going to cause your automation to kick off. And there's a lot of different ones here. This could run on a timer, when an email is received, on OneDrive, and it'll kind of guide you through what you're doing. The one I'm going to pick is this one, because that goes into the demo that I made. But if you were messing with Logic apps, and you wanted to kind of get some ideas, they have what are called like templates or recipes down here that are already made for you. So if you're familiar with IFFT, I think I missed an F, IFFT. You can see how you can kind of piece these together, and they have a lot of all the components already built for you. We're going to make ours from scratch, but if you wanted something that like, there's one in here that auto archives, yeah, delete old Azure blobs, it does that kind of stuff. So if you're going to mess around with Logic apps, go in there and look at it because they have a lot of different recipes that are already made. But for mine, I'm going to have a tweet. So I'm going to click this, and it's going to start a nice graphical interface. If you really want to, you can switch over and do this in, I don't know if it's YAML or if it's XML. Either way, it's not very attractive. But I'm going to connect it. First, I have to connect it to a Twitter account, which I've already done. So I have a demo Twitter account, which nothing exciting is happening inside of there. Nothing's happening in there yet. So I'm going to figure out this. So what this wants, let's zoom in a little. What do you say? So my problem is if I zoom in, it's going to get a little crazy when I start moving stuff around, or like when I start adding stuff. You're not going to let me scroll up? That's not cool. All right, we'll have to do that. So it wants to know, what am I searching for? This is a connector that Microsoft's already provided for you that's already integrated in with Twitter. It will run however often I tell it to run, and then I can pass parameters to manipulate it. Before you start doing anything with Logic apps, you pay on execution. So if you have a Logic app that maybe you set up for demos and you let it run once a second for maybe a week, it's going to cost a lot of money. So make sure you know how much your Logic app is going to execute. I would not recommend ones that watch another system like this. I would recommend ones that do like an HTTP request or something, something initiates it. In this case, we're going to run it for a few minutes and blow as much of my demo account status as I can. But that's what we're going to do. So it's going to search for a term. I could also put in, I think, when a particular account tweets something, there's a lot of different integrations. And it's whoever made the connector is exposing what in this other system the Logix app has access to do. Microsoft has some, there's some really basic ones. You can develop your own connectors into your own systems if you want to do that. But in this case, we need a good hashtag. So I'm going to do pork chop sandwiches just for fun. Pork chop sandwiches. So let me copy that because I'll mistype it. And I'll put it down here in my super secret key that I don't think. All right, so what's going to happen is every time it finds a tweet with hashtag pork chop sandwiches, what do we want to go do? That's what it wants to know. So before, I'm going to jump over here just to jump back into this guy so you can see it. So we're basically up to this point. So next thing we do, need to add a step to interact with cognitive services. We want to take whatever tweet was given and send it to the cognitive service to figure out, was it something nice? So back over here, I'm going to say text analytics. I guess I probably shouldn't have just picked the one that was there. There's a lot in here. There's a lot of connectors. I think there's like 400 or 500 connectors. And you can scroll through, you can type in, like you want to encrypt something, you want to send an email, you can type it in, it might kind of guide you where you want to go. In my case, I want to detect sentiment. And it figured out that there's something inside of text analytics to detect sentiment. So I click this. I already made the connection to my my API, so I don't have to do that. So now it wants to know, what am I sending? So the text sentiment, if I hover over this, it would give you it would say, this returns a score. You can't really read it, but it returns a numeric score 0 to 1 of the text that you pass it, whether or not it was nice. So we need to tell it that we're going to send it some text. I could also specify the language, but I don't need to do that. And now it wants to know, what text am I going to send? Logic Apps is smart enough to know that this kicked off with a tweet. So you have all these properties that are available to you that you could send over to the text sentiment. In our case, we have our tweet text. So we have down here, tweet text. So now we have tweet text. So we've gotten our post, we picked it up, we sent it over to text sentiment, and now we need to figure out what we're going to do with that. So you have all these built-in connectors, but then you have some generic ones like condition that allow you to do if then, else, whatever you feel like doing. So we determined that if it was something nice, well, we need to figure out, well, what does it mean something nice? I can say, okay, the value that the text sentiment returns, I'm gonna look at it. But if you look, I have what the text sentiment might interact with, as well as the original tweet. Logic Apps will constantly keep a track of all the properties and values that you are passing along, so you can pull them out for dynamic things. In our case, we want the score, and I want to say, is it greater than? I would do greater than or equal to. And here, I could use a value, I could type in text. There's also some built-in expressions. So if you want to concatenate text, if you want to manipulate any values using an expression. In our case, I need to convert it to a float, and it's going to be 0.5. So,
spelled float wrong.
Sweet. I love it that it didn't stop me either, but you did. It's like good luck, have fun. Oh, when you do logic apps, you do this about 400 times until you actually get it to work. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what's wrong. All right, so at this point, we detected sentiment, got it back. We determined, is it nice, is it not? If it's nice, what were we doing? Oh, we're going to translate it. And we're going to approve the content, and we're going to post a tweet. Or we're going to post into Slack. I'm going to go and do the Slack one real quick because it's only one step. So if it's not very nice, we're going to say, let's post this into Slack. So I can type in Slack. Let me go down a little bit more. And you can see there's the Slack connector, but then these are all the actions that they've already written into Slack. For the most part, Microsoft has created most of these connectors, but more and more companies are starting to do it. If Slack were to make their own, then they possibly would expose a lot more functionality. It just depends on what they've kind of worked with. But in our case, we're going to post a message into Slack. I've already added the connection to my Slack group, my Slack team that I'm in. It just wants to know which channel am I posting into. I'm going to post it into tweets. I'm going to say, this wasn't very nice. Very nice. And then I'm going to dynamically pull in this case, I want to know what the original text was that wasn't very nice. So I'm going to do this. And it was tweeted by, who was it tweeted by? And I'm just going to pull in another value just for fun of it. All right, so now we have our nastygram. If someone did something that wasn't nice, it's going to go to Slack. It's going to pull the original text message and put it over there. But if it is good, now we want to start interacting. And with translate, I'm going to translate it. I have it already clicked, but for the magic of the demo, I'm going to actually type it poorly several times. Translate. This is probably why I just should have picked the one that was above there. All right, scroll down. This is the problem when I zoom in, I have to move it around a little bit. There is version 2 and the original version of Translator. I really don't know the difference very much. I know 2, the first one works my demo, so I'm not going to do 2 because I don't know if it works. Translator, I could translate different things, but in this case, I'm going to translate it. And we'll do this. It wants to know what text am I translating. Again, I'm back to my original tweet. That's the thing I want to translate. Now here's our choice. What language do we? Oh, sweet. I don't have that many giveaways. Sorry, people. Tweet text. There we go. So now we get to choose which language we would like to translate this into. There is Klingon, there's another Klingon. I don't really know what that other one means. Let's go with Tongan. How about that?
There's something that we could have a good gut check on there.
Okay. Well,
Any foreign language speakers? Portuguese.
Portuguese. Maybe Spanish to like give the, maybe just so my wife can, kind of. All right, so it's going to be translated into here. So now we're basically, just to jump back, now we're up to here. So we did this line, we did that. Now we're up to here. So now this is a really cool part of Azure Logic Apps, is I want to interact with this. And I want it to be somewhat, I don't want it to do the automation. I want it to actually require someone to do something. Their connectors that they've already built are pretty powerful. So after it gets translated into Spanish, I want to send an approval email. And there's already a connector into Outlook and Outlook 365. And even in there, I could just send it as an email, or I could even send an approval email. Down here, approval email, which will actually send me a link in an email to say, here's the value, approve it or not approve it. I don't have to go into the Logic app. I just have to click a button, and it will record it up for the Logic app, and that will either move it or not move it along. But I want you to think about what it would take to build that if you were making this from scratch, doing it in .NET or some other language. So now it wants to know what my login is, and I did not even think of what my login was here, but I think, oh, sweet. Thank you, Windows Hello, for doing that for me. So it wants to know who's it going to. I have a demo account that I'm going to work with, but I need you to look at the name of it. bsoltisms@outlook.com. Soltis.ms. And once I could put a subject line for whatever, normal. But I want to add in a little bit of the body. So I can come down into here and I can say, where's it at? Oh, never mind. It's a little different, but let me see what it says. Yeah, so I'm going to add into the body of it. So this is the default setting for this. The body used to be there. I don't know why it doesn't. It's like the name, the subject, and whatever that's going to come in, and the different options, approve or reject. You can define your own. But then I want to do something additional. So I'm going to add in the body, and I'm going to say here. And then as a parameter, I'm going to say something like, this text was translated. Do you want to tweet it? I know, I'm mistyping. And then I can pull in the translated text as dynamic.
Can you put the original text in there as well?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the original in comparison to the translated?
Good idea.
Can you put the score in there as well?
I can pull in any value you want to put in there. I can put in.
That would be nice to see those things for gut check.
Anything else? You want me to keep clicking buttons? I can do this all day. We got a lot of options. We keep going. I'm not even in the expressions yet. We can start concatenating things if you want. You have almost everything available here to you. I will say this, though, from personal experience. You are getting values as they are defined from the API that the Logic App is interacting with. It's very likely you will come across something that maybe has the same name as a different API. So you need to make sure you're in the right section of like here, well, it has the Twitter logo, which that helps. But here it's like, this is what's coming from translated text. This is what's coming from text sentiment. Make sure you pick them from the right one. Then even inside of here, the REST APIs or the APIs you're working with, I've seen those because it's like JSON coming over. And maybe if you think of like, let's say, I'm trying to even think of it. You have your root node of items, and then there's an item name, item description, item date, and an item body. And then inside the body node, you would have subtitle 1, subtitle 2, body. Like if potentially you have body, 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 and it's just gonna say body, 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 if that's the structure of the information that's coming in. So sometimes you have to play with your logic apps if that's the case, but it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Okay, so we have added a lot of things to our email that we're gonna send to myself, and if it's approved, then we're gonna turn around and we're gonna tweet it again. I'm gonna tweet it back out. I think it's just post a tweet. So I'm gonna say post a tweet. It wants to know what am I posting? And the tweet text. Okay. And the, my bad. And the value is our translated text. I don't know if I can. Let's see. Well, we're just gonna add something to it. I've actually never tried to do this. So why not do that in the middle of a demo? COTB 2019. All right. So now,
It's gonna translate pork chop sandwich.
our Spanish speakers will let us know. All right, so I actually, ironically, let's see, I've only done it took 35 minutes. I normally don't have time to build the whole thing out, but I actually built it all out, but I can still show you some more. But to kind of walk you through, I'd zoom out a little bit just for it to make sense. We post a tweet, detect a sentiment, send it over to the text analysis. It's going to determine the score. If that score is less than 0.5, it's going to post the message in our Slack channel. If it's greater than 0.5, we're going to send it. We're going to translate the text, send myself an approval email. If I approve that, it's going to post the translated text. Yes?
Is there a branch if you deny the approval email?
Yep.
It's just not showing right now?
Actually, it's not going to do what I just said because I did not do the part to look at the response of the approval email. So that was what I was going to do in a minute. Okay, so here, and what's funny is I haven't done that one in a little while, so I have to remember. I have to look. It's user selection. It's like a selection, and I didn't do that. So it's no. What is that? Man, I'm actively trying to remember what this is. Is it condition? Yeah, that's right. So it's another condition. And so here, the value that I look at in the condition is, thank you, good job. We're good co-presenters. You can see of what this is pointing from the approval email. I'm gonna do the selected option. And in this case, we're gonna say if that is approved, then we are going to do our post a tweet. And what's nice is it's pretty good at remembering what you're working on, so you can jump to those fairly quickly. Oh no, that was a post, that was a tweet, wasn't it? Tweet. Oh, come on. Post a tweet, there's the value, tweet text, click off. The value is the translated text, and I think I just added that just for fun. And let's say, oh, that didn't do anything, did it? Okay. I'm not going to add that part. I don't even know what that's going to do. If if they denied it, so if it's not approval, then let's post it into Slack, and we'll just say, we'll post it into the general channel. Or, yeah, we'll do the general channel. And we'll just say, this wasn't approved. And it will be translate text. So. All right, so we got our system in place. So we're gonna save it. That's gonna make sure we have all the right settings in place, that it's nothing that will immediately break it. Doesn't mean you didn't have a typo, and it won't just let it roll through and it blows up when you try to execute it, but we'll see. But it will kind of verify it. Before I get into that, if you really are into code views, this is this entire logic app in code view form. This is what it looks like. So behind the scenes, it's just basically writing all this stuff out. So you can look at the different steps, the parameters, I'm pulling in the tweet text, blah, blah, blah. I don't like looking at code that much. So we're gonna come into here, and we're gonna see it doesn't have any runs because it hasn't been run yet. So now the moment of truth. Let's see what we got. So we're gonna do a tweet, and we're gonna do, would you like to do something nice? Would you like to do something not nice? We'll do something nice. Code on the beach 2019 has, I'm actually trying to think if any of these tweets are going to show up on someone's stuff. So I'm going to make something nice. Has a great party. Has great party. Hashtag pork chop sandwiches. All right. So, as soon as I tweet this, that tweet, is it not going to come on? Okay, we tweeted, yes, welcome, thank you. So we have tweeted, code on the beach, has a great party, hashtag pork chop sandwiches. So, that should be running, and if I typed everything correctly, it should have picked it up. Yeah, okay, I forgot to change that to every 1 minute. Okay, I'm not gonna wait 3 minutes, I'm just gonna run it. Okay, so we're gonna run that, bam. So it's picked up, oh look, it's gonna run it twice. Maybe, we'll see. All right, so what's gonna happen here is you can dig into one of these and you can watch it as it goes through each step. And it will tell you a little green circle about where it is and tell you how long it took to get to each step. So this is really good, because right now it's sitting there. You heard I just got an email because it stopped. So, but if I didn't get the email yet, I can still kind of look at this. And I can go, okay, well, I can drill into each step and I can start to examine the different components of what was actually happening. And so here was the actual body that got done. It was like, oh, code on the beaches, 2019, hashtag pork chop sandwiches. Tells me what happened and where it went through. Then I can see that was green. Green means good. Go. Detect sentiment. It sent it over there. Code on the beach has a great pork chop. It thinks that was very nice. 0.90. It thought I did a very nice thing. Okay, sweet. Then it's going to come to the condition. It's going to evaluate it. But if you notice, the condition has a little different one. It's orange because it's still in that condition. The logic app has not completed that step because it's inside of this one and it's waiting for me to approve it. So if you ever see that, you know it's waiting on something to happen. But it determined that it was nice because I went into this field because that was not even there. It's going to translate text. That's what gets sent in. And this is what gets sent out. Go down the beach, tien una gran fiesta. Hashtag pork chop sandwiches. So from there, looks like I sent myself an email with lots of values in it. Well, I don't know why that one won't expand. Oh, look, I got 2. And here it is. This text was translated. I'm not super great at formatting these emails yet, so you can see everything's kind of one line, but I do have the values. This was the original text, because you guys want to see the original text, then there's the score, and then there's that. So here, I have my 2 things. I have approve and reject. All I did was drag send an approval email and put in that. This is all built for me. And when I click this, it's just gonna go to like an app service somewhere that is gonna record the response and then they just close it. They don't have to do anything else. So we're gonna say, let's approve it. I like that, pork chop sandwiches, all right. Bam, it's done. And now back over here, if I were to refresh this, back over. What's that? Oh, it already did it. Green means go. I like it. And so there you go. It's completed. So now if I jump over here, go down the beach, tienda gran fiesta, whatever. All right. Now, yes, question? I thought someone, yes?
What was the other email?
It's because I manually ran it and it picked it up and ran it again. So it did it twice because it picked it up. Because I hit run trigger manually, as soon as I did that, it actually fired the regular one. And so it basically ran twice. I'm not lying. It's really there, I promise. No. It's just the same thing. It's just because I did it twice. And
Can we reject this email now? No, it's different.
cannot. I'll do it again. I'll do all of them. I'll do another one and I'll say, let's see. I'll do, because I have time. I mean, I have what?
That email was different. I can see it working if you reject it and then later approve it. But if you approved it once, you cannot reject it later because the post to Twitter's already occurred.
Right. Yeah, that would go through.
Just logically speaking, there's no way to.
Well, yeah, I can't. Like, I believe.
There is a way to back.
Actually, I don't know what will happen if I. Which one do you guys want? I open the top one. Click the top one. I don't know what's going to happen. We might be. Oh, it's like no, no, no. No pork chop sandwiches for you. Okay. It's probably going to be the same thing, but I'll do the second email too. Let me close this. I know. I know.
Still be running.
It's different translations.
Actually, I don't know what will happen. Way to go. We divided by 0 and we all lived. I like it.
I think if you would have approved that one because it was a separate workflow, it would have posted to Twitter a second time.
Yeah. The moral of the story is don't run manually if it's going to run by itself, especially in the middle of your demo. Yes, another question.
Actually, the second email was different.
Was it? How was it different?
Oh,
So you know what it's doing? It's picking itself up because every time I post the thing, I'm adding pork chop sandwiches. All right, so this is how wormholes are created, people. All right, so we're going to go modify just a little bit.
Can we look at the side channel and see if it posted that deck?
I'm going to do that one manually. I'm just going to go through and do it. Okay, so let's forget anything that's happening right now, and we'll just say wormholes are fun. Hashtag pork chop sandwiches. Actually, let's say wormholes really, really suck. Because I want something that wasn't very nice. So we'll see what that has to say. Oh boy, this is not good. We've gone off the rails. Okay, so I'm doing it twice. I don't know what the third one is. Let's pretend the other one's not running. Okay. All right, we're gonna come over here. That one, did it think it was nice? That must be a different one. We'll see. Thanks. Oh, so it's like picking up those. Okay. If you want to make me look foolish, you don't have to do that. We just go drink a beer and you feel real fast. I'm sorry, say that again?
So it actually analyzes sentiment in multiple languages too.
I guess so, yeah.
So what did it score? Is it 0.9 on the sentiment in Spanish? The same score as it in the English?
I didn't, it looked like it was in English to
How many
me.
rabbit holes can we get you to go down?
No kidding. I don't have any more to give away, damn it. Leave me alone. Okay, let's see. It thought it was a 0.5. It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't speak Spanish. Okay, let's see if we can do this. All right. So we're going to do a little change to our stuff so we don't break the internet. All right. I'm going to, let's see. We're going to do it once a month and save that. So then I'm going to run it manually so that it doesn't come up and do it. Although it's going to run it, I will say this. It will run it, and when it runs, it will execute the logic app for every one it finds. Yes?
Can you inject language detection into there?
Absolutely. Like whatever step you wanted to inject it, yeah. I could do a condition and be like, if it's in English, then that. Let me get through the demo part, and then I'm going to come and try that, because I've never tried to do that. I want to try it. I want to see what happens. We're going to be in here the rest of the day. Take that, John Papa. There, I'm changing my demo on the fly. All right, what was I doing? Okay, I'm trying to get it to pick up the not nice thing. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to stop these because I don't know what the heck it's doing. No one use pork chop sandwiches. We need to get this to run. I'm trying to get there. Okay. All right, so we're going to do this. Normally I don't have the tweeted again. That's what's like causing me the
I'm
problem.
honestly surprised 10 people in this room haven't been continuously tweeting the pork chop sandwiches.
I know. All right, so we're going to do this, okay? I proved that you can do a condition and post a tweet. Okay, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to take that away because that's just creating a wormhole. We don't want to do that. That's bad. So we're going to take away that piece of it, and we're just going to do nothing if it's nice. So now we're going to come back, and we're going to do a tweet, and I'm going to do this again. Really suck. We'll try that again.
So bad, it's really good.
What's that?
It's so bad, it's really good. #Ames.
Oh, that's true. Ooh, I like it. Did that post it again? No. Post. Oh, it doesn't like it. Oh, you don't. Take that. Okay, now we should get to our sentiment. Let's see. So I canceled those. So I'm going to run the trigger manually, and we're going to see what kicks in. So a while just did a whole bunch. It's all these other ones that are going through, but it doesn't matter. So this one, it should be our bad sentiment. No, it's again. Holy cow, we broke it. We have gone it. Hi, caramba. You people are killing me. All right, so I got to, I don't care what you people do, I got to my demo. I came into here, I did the sentiment because it really, really sucks. It was not very nice. And so it says it posted a message in my Slack group. I pay by execution, people. You're killing me. You know? So there it was. This wasn't very nice. Nerd rage. Holy cow. This is pretty negative. Someone else is doing something and it fired in the background. Thank you. But you see, I'm posting into Slack with that. All right. Let's see. All right, so I proved that you could do that. The only thing I didn't do is the decline, but I think I proved that that was possible to post into Slack as well. But if I did decline, if I rejected it, it would just do the same thing. It'd get all the way down to here, and then it would go into the other Slack group. So someone asked a question, and we've already ran this demo off the train track, so might as well modify a little bit more. We're going to detect the sentiment. We're only going to do this if it's English. How about that? So when the tweet comes in, we're going to add an action, and we're going to analyze text.
It was detect language.
Yep, we're going to detect language. And if the tweet text was, if the tweet text is there, okay, now we add a condition. So I've sent that over, detected the language. Now I'm going to have another condition that's going to determine if our tweet text, although I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it will be like en-us. I don't know. The detected languages. Oh. English? I don't know.
It tells you right there, two-letter representation of the language code might work out for you.
Where did it say? Where did you see that?
Language code.
Language code. Oh, okay, there we go. So if but I don't know what the difference.
Code is equal to en.
You might need to go negative.
Yeah, so this is probably a list of all the languages, and that would, yeah, the detected language. There we go. I like it. No, wait, I screwed up. So whenever you pick a collection, I picked detected languages, which is potentially a collection. It switched it over into a for each because it knows that that particular value may have multiple things and needs to iterate through, and it's smart enough to know that because it's marked as an array, not necessarily a string. So, but we don't want a for each right now because it screws everything up. So if I delete this, okay, so we detected the language. If condition is that if the language code, okay, I don't know what, okay, I guess it did that when I swapped it over. Okay, so detected language could be an array. I don't know. I've never been in here.
It doesn't indicate that it's an array, though. This is a two-letter representation.
Yeah, so let's say en.
No, contains. Do contains en.
So you can do contains. The thing I don't know is
String contains.
it might be this or it might be en.
Is there like a top level contains?
I
Replace the for each directly after detect language?
don't know.
Yeah, like an array contains. Those two things.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Might be
saying, like an
includes.
array contains. Because you really want, it doesn't contain any Spanish, is what you're looking for.
Well, I think we all agree at this point that this thing is achievable. It's just a little.
You guys want to come up here and knock that? Let's see. I have no idea. I'm not going to drill into it that much more because I don't really know.
I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah, you can see how about, and now everything I showed you, even the part, I'm going to disable it before you people do more damage. So let's just do that. Let's just turn off the logic app before you destroy. Okay, so there's a way to disable it. I can't remember where it is. I think it's in here. So I'm disabling it. The playground shut down. Everybody relax. Although you're actively still doing more, I can see. So we'll go see what that looks like. But I wanted you to look at some of these other connectors that are possibilities there. So, because there's a lot of different stuff inside of here. Again, I showed you the stuff that's really easy to demo, but you could just look through all of them. There's a lot of these built-in ones. These are like the looking at the response, parsing JSON, or the really cool thing that I really like to do, I didn't do in this demo, is I can actually choose an Azure function. So when I do this, it's going to look, because in the subscription, I don't have any Azure functions. So let's see if I can get that to do it, if I can connect to my other subscription. So if I choose Azure functions, yeah, it doesn't have that. It's because we're the Logic app in that subscription, I don't have any Azure functions. But if I did, it would actually list my function names from my function app that I'm pulling in. So that's really cool, because then you can write your own stuff to do. But then they have a bunch of standard stuff of like, interacting with service bus and whatever it is. I guess if you want to work with Rosetta.net, Rosetta.net, yes.
From the function perspective, if it has input criteria, like it takes a bool and a string as the signature for the function, and does it detect the input requirement and detect the output requirement? So
It's all defined in it's how your function is laid out.
But is it, so it's smart enough to kind of pick out what it means?
I have 15 minutes. That 15 minutes? How the hell did I go so fast and everything went so bad? Okay, I'm going to do it on the fly because I have functions and I'll pull one up for you. So I'm going to make a new Logic app. So now you're going to really see how the donuts are made.
Can't keep waiting.
What's that?
Can't keep waiting.
Can't keep waiting?
Tweeting.
You can. It's just I'm not listening anymore. Go ahead, pork chop sandwiches. Bryan Soltis, demo 2. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Let's put it over here. Web. This is my real one. You people don't have access to it. This is my real subscription. It won't let me select it.
Do a string down reverse real quick, something like that. You can type out.
Now, why is it not letting me do that? Okay. I don't know why. Okay, there it is. So we'll just put in Soltis Web. Put that over in EastUS2. There you go. So I'm spinning up a brand new Logic app right now. And then I will just show you just how, because I do have Logic apps and I have functions that I use as part of, this is my actual architecture that I use for my website. I have multiple app services. I use search because I love Azure Search. I have some storage accounts and I'm using Azure DevOps with pipelines. So when I check in my code, it automatically does smoke tests and then deploys it. If you were in an earlier session on the .NET Core CLI session by Brian McKeever, who's in the back of the room, he talked a lot about pipelines and how they can simplify your life. He's like scripted it on like a cool code level. I'm doing it on a nice UI level, but it's still a way to automate your deployments and your code and your life because it makes things so much easier. So let's see if that guy, did that come up? Did that finish already? Oh, okay, there it is. All right, so here is the Logic app. I don't really care what it is when it's here. And so the next step will be a function. Function. Holy cow, I could not spell anything. And now it's like nowhere. Yeah, it's story of my life, missed an I. Okay, so Azure functions. And you can see I have Soltis Web functions, which are my actual functions. And I'm gonna bit it like, well, no, that one doesn't take anything in. These don't really take any parameters in.
Evil plan function.
Yeah, oh, that's something else. You're not supposed to do that. Yeah, different demo.
I'm down for this.
It will. So typically, when you have a function, like I could pass the body into there, and then the function itself, you will see that you can set up your functions to actually spit out a certain type of data or something, but it's also in like the sample payload that you might give the Azure Logic app. So like in this case, I'll show you, this is when an HTTP post is received, okay? So I'll kind of explain it. My functions don't do this, but I could do it. This Logic app will only run when it gets a post in, okay? And that post will typically give it some data, and that's how it knows what to work with. Because if I come into here and I want to interact with the text of it or something like under, let's see, even though this doesn't make any sense, but if I said, you see, I only have the body. It doesn't know what I'm posting into this Logic app. It just knows that there's a header and a body. It's some kind of post coming into it. However, I can tell the Logic app the structure of the data coming in, and then it knows how to work with it. So the only structure I know of off the top of my head is the company I used to work for. So let me go pull that. It's a Kentico Cloud Webhook. Let's see if I can remember how to get into there. No, it's didn't add a space. And I spelled it horribly wrong. 303, okay, so, no. It's Kentico Cloud Webhook sample. It's in like the documentation. I know exactly where it is, I just haven't done it yet. And again, I'm only doing this because this is where I know there's a sample like JSON structure that I could pull. Actually, let's just do that. That's probably quicker. Sample JSON, whatever. That looks great. So if I knew that this was the structure of my data coming into the Logic app, I can come into here and I can say, give me some sample data to generate the structure. Of course I am, thank you.
The very first one.
I'm missing everything.
There you go.
There we go. Add a second one. Whoa. All right. So now it knows, because I gave it that structure, now it knows that the values coming into that HTTP request looks at that schema. And I can actually start to pull out the individual things. So if your function kicked out that kind of stuff, you could give the Logic app that and it would know exactly how to interact with it. Usually what I do with my functions is they just spit out some body and I just pull from that body and throw it and use it however I wanted to go. But you could do that if you wanted to. And my nose is randomly stuffed up now. I don't really know why that is. All right. Right. I live over in the Panhandle, so I'm used to that too. So, all right. So we did the process. So was that amazing or what? We almost died, but we somehow survived. We did all this. So let's talk about the highlights of that. Logic apps are all about making automation faster and easier. You can do so much so quickly. Like I said, everything I showed you, short of the wormhole, I could have done in about a minute and a half because it's just click here, add values, and boom, it's all set up. It already does it behind the scenes for you. And because it's in Azure, everything connects to just about everything. We've made all these connectors to Dynamics and SharePoint and OneDrive and Outlook and storage and functions and other Logic apps and everything else you can imagine. Meanwhile, they've also developed connectors for several other systems, well-known things. Salesforce, Slack, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all these kinds of stuff. Companies can also develop their own custom connectors. Again, so if you had a company and you had a REST API that you could expose, you do have to have an open API definition for it. But if you have that, you can develop a custom connector, publish it, and when people go in to make a Logic app, they can choose your stuff. And there you go. And you will amaze your boss and get a raise. There's a lot of connectors already there. And what you can't do with those connectors, you can do in a function. You can write your own function to do whatever it is you want to do, and you can see how easy it is to pull in a function itself. And almost everything in Azure is free for developers. So for my last giveaway, I'm going to ask a question, and it's going to be, man, they finished early. I got 9 minutes. All right. This is the first hand up. Let me see this real quick. It's going to be the first hand up to tell me how many regions Microsoft Azure is in. How many regions are we in the world? Yes?
6.
Oh, way low. Keep going.
All of them.
Almost. Antarctica isn't really hot for us yet. We're getting there. Yes?
I think it's 23.
Almost half. 54. You get this. Get ready. You don't know what's about to happen to you. I'm going to step back. You'll see why. Come on. You get this guy. There you go. So, yes, we are in 54 regions around the world. I'll show you a map. You saw it for a second because I actually clicked on it. These are all the regions and countries. We're not down to Antarctica yet. Give us time. We actually just opened that one. I think we got some new ones coming in over there too. So it's pretty amazing what they're doing. They're actually dropping more in the water too. So I think it's off the coast of, Europe. They dropped one in the water there. So there's a data center in the water, and they use the water outside it to help cool it off. It's pretty amazing. But what they're talking about doing is they're making these things of where they want to get the data centers closer to people. So there's a lot of tech around that space of how they can do that. So expect to see that number go up even more and more. So, all right. And with that, we're going to get back into here. Highlights. If you want to know a little bit more about all this stuff as I trip, you have the Logic Apps documentation. You have the connectors, so that talks about the custom connectors. Azure Cognitive Services, which will give you a lot of info. Cognitive Services are pretty powerful, and if you want a really good job and you want to keep it for a long time, start doing stuff with AI and Cognitive Services. Because that's really where things are going. It's about using artificial intelligence, neural networking, analysis, statistical information to examine information and do something with it. Blending it into these automations is a prime candidate for something like that because the text come in, someone could, in theory, I could retweet something. I could set up a logic app to watch an account, and I want to retweet everything this person says because they just post amazing things. I could set up a logic app to do it. But what happens if they decide to, I don't know, support Hitler or something in a tweet for no reason? Don't necessarily want to do that. I can use the system, like I said, just to talk about that, and it would pick that kind of stuff up. So, and I would never have to do it, but it would kind of happen automatically for me by using AI to examine what the context it's working with. Lastly, there's the translator API and the functions themselves. Any questions? Nope. Yes.
You beat you up consistently.
Yeah, you did. Well done. I like it.
Can you put logic apps in any sort of source controls?
So the only way I know to do that is if you were to take the, he asked if you could put them in any sort of source control. I know that's something they're working on. Oh, this is something else I was going to show you, but I'll pull that up in a minute. I don't know what I just clicked. Okay. If you were to come into the designer and you were to get that text, I don't believe they've integrated it in yet, but if you did take the code view, you can do this. And there are versions, so I think it does keep versions of that, but I think that's only local to Azure at the moment. I don't think you can get that out of there yet. I could be wrong. I'd have to find that out, but someone's asked that question before, but I believe you can only do this, but you can template this and you could use it over and over, but I think you'd have to take this and get it into source control somehow.
Includes the definition too.
I don't know. Never actually clicked. Oh, no, those are those templates. My bad. No, that's something else. The code view generally has almost everything inside of there. It's almost everything's inside of here, including, except maybe your connector information of like where you have your API keys. But I think every other structure is inside of that. Yes, another question.
Can you enter into the code?
Can you, I'm sorry?
Can you enter it into the code view or edit it into the code view?
You can edit it in the code view.
Can you make that your default view?
Oh, you mean when you open up the logic app, it automatically goes into the code view? I don't think so. I think it just goes, if you start a logic app, you get to that start screen. And then by default, I don't know if you normally get dropped into overview.
Scroll down a little bit here before you move.
Yep.
Scroll.
Everything else is just normal stuff that you'll see in Azure. Oh, the code thing. Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I don't know how feasible it would be to actually maintain this as a code base, man. This is more of a WYSIWYG thing.
Well,
Yeah.
I meant more.
You can edit this and you can change it, yes. If you wanted to, you absolutely could do it in here. I think I would rather smack my face in the stuff with a hammer, but if that's what you're into, knock it out, man.
It makes it portable.
You certainly could, yes, you could. In theory, you could script it if you had this code. You could script that.
You could write a Visual Studio Code plugin for
That
everything.
sounds pretty good.
Marketplace.
I already work in Microsoft, so I don't have to do that, but you guys can. I can't be an MVP again. I've already been an MVP, so if you want to be an MVP, no. I think that's a good idea. That's another possibility. Was there another question back there? Nope, he's just making hand gestures. Okay.
Maybe it was a question.
Oh.
Can you use Azure Alert as a trigger or something from Log Analytics or App Insights?
So you can, there's some different ones in there. I think you could, but it wouldn't be exactly like plug and play with it, meaning I think you do an HTTP request. So you, like I said, you'd have to kind of like figure out what, like if that put out a webhook. So the way I used to do this when I worked at my previous company, it was all about content, and we changed that content in our system. It sent off a webhook notification. I set my logic app to receive that webhook notification, and that's what kicked it off. So you would probably do a similar thing. It'd have to be something that sent something out somewhere. But as long as you had a URL to put in, this gives you, I didn't show you that, but if you do this, if you have it to be like a, when an HTTP request is received, I have to save it. It's a unique URL, so that's the unique URL. It's big, long GUID stuff. So every logic app has a very unique URL. So you could use that in your other system to send stuff to. Good question. Yes?
Question. Can we integrate this logic app with any of the applications? at the customer side. For example, if any tool or if any product we are running, and if that is also cloud-based, so can we integrate the logic app with that particular software or the application, which will also trigger the notification based on the events which are triggered from that product?
So, if you wanted to integrate it in with like an external system, you'd have to determine how you're integrating. Is the external system initiating the logic app? So I'm going to answer in multiple ways. If that answer is yes, then you would do what I just said with like an HTTP request or an HTTP post. Your external system could call that URL. That's going to kick off your logic app. Then, if you wanted the logic app to do something, to interact with an internal system, you'd have to probably develop a custom connector. And you can develop a custom connector and use it for yourself without publishing it. You could do that. You could have like your own custom connector to do something. Or you could create an Azure function that your logic app is using, and that Azure function is hitting your internal stuff directly. And then if you wanted like the email approval to cause something else in another system, on that, when it was approved, instead of posting a tweet, you could call another Azure function to. Basically, we have all these connectors, and whatever they don't do, Azure functions, you can do whatever you want to do. And it's just another step of your workflow. So I think the answer is yes, although I'd probably have to know a little bit more to know that for sure. So it's a good question though. All right, I'll be glad to keep answering questions, but I am just about done. This is my info. I don't get to talk as much as I used to, but I still do. I still love talking about Azure. And anytime anyone ever has a question, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd like to talk. And with that, you have Dancing Homer. So there you go.